and move to the United States. And what's going on at the border?
Well, the U.S. southern border immigration crisis, of course, we're all familiar with this. You've seen it in the news. And I'm going to highlight this excellent report here at the Gatestone Institute. Now, mind you, this is a partisan think tank, but the Gatestone Institute for International Policy Council. So more on the kind of right wing, if you will. But nonetheless, this is by a Turkish journalist who's a distinguished fellow at the Gatestone Institute. Uze Bulut is her name or his name. I'm not sure what they are, but we'll take the quote here. Whether intentional or not, can be argued that the U.S. government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation run by bad actors seeking to profit off the lives of children. The HSS, that's the Department of Health and Human Services in the U.S., did everything they could to keep all of this silent. This is a quote here by Tara Lee Rodas, who's a testimony before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, Integrity, Security, Enforcement. This is just in the last April, just 2 months ago. Here's another, also quite a strong statement here. It's from a Florida grand jury testimony. Some of the children coming over the U.S. southern border, they're talking about here, are not children at all, but full-grown predatory adults. Some are already gang members or criminal actors. Others, I'm talking about children here, are coerced into prostitution or sex slavery. Some are recycled to be used as human visas by criminal organizations. Some are consigned to relatives who funnel them into sweatshops to pay off the debt accumulated by their trek to the United States. They're talking about here. Some flee their sponsors and return to their country of origin. Some are abandoned by their so-called families and become wards of the dependency system, the criminal justice system, or disappear altogether. So again, from a Florida grand jury testimony, many of these key points, shocking points outlined in this piece here. And so I will go so far as to say, having also researched this closely, to say that I believe a lot of people are looking at these policies, open borders policies, especially under Democrats, and saying this doesn't make any sense. Okay, I understand turning Texas blue by getting Democratic voters over the border and naturalizing them, and hopefully they'll vote Democrat, but there's more to it. This kind of unfettered, kind of for organized crime, for criminal human trafficking cartels. I think that the Democratic Party might possibly be owned and bought and paid for by criminal cartels. That's the only way you can really describe the actions and decisions made by not just the White House, but also politicians in some of these states as well, who seem to be pro-open border on this issue. So this is a huge problem. They're talking in this particular report, 85,000 children are missing. They've just gone missing, basically. You've got so many profiting stakeholders in here, from the foster care system to these charities that are running through churches as well. There's all sorts of potential stakeholders in here that might be the dependency system they're talking about, Mike. That's the child care system. It's very profitable. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and apparently this is a problem that's completely out of control. And I want to point to this week, July 4th was the premiere of this independent film, which is making a big splash at the moment, called The Sound of Freedom. This is starring Jim Caviezel, and this is making a lot of headway. It premiered on Tuesday, I believe. And so this is something that mainstream Hollywood doesn't really support, as far as I could see, for various reasons. They don't like these types of films that expose child trafficking for some reason. I don't know why. But we have the trailer to this film. Let's watch a little bit of the trailer to The Sound of Freedom. Looks like an incredible independent.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you caught?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
So, Patrick, the thing that strikes me about this is that we've been reporting about children going missing in the UK regime for the last lot of years. I mean, there are a lot of children coming in from Syria, from Libya, from other countries, just disappearing in the system. We've got war zones that the West has generally started across the world where this kind of child trafficking has been going on. And now it's the southern border of the United States as well. This is, as this film seems to be suggesting, a massive industry now. And of course, we can't really separate the organ issue from that either.
Sure. Yeah. No, Ukraine being one of the big thoroughfares for this type of illegal activity. Nobody's wanting to talk about that, of course. That's totally verboten. But Jim Caviezel and Mira Sorvino, she's in this film. It's based on a true story. So it looks like a really good effort by then. I think it might raise awareness on this issue. So I think this issue is kind of coming up now to become a priority. But it's also in America. It's interesting. This is being characterized in a partisan way. The left, the kind of woke left, they're not really wanting to give any purchase to this type of film or this issue for some reason, because they see it as a right wing issue now, because a lot of right wing or pro Trump accounts are promoting it. So you can see how the partisan polarity in politics is even hitting something like this, which everybody should be interested in. That everybody should be supporting this type of film and this type of exposure, but for the reasons of petty politics, it's not. So that's something that to me is kind of shocking.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Okay. Let's move on.